Good evening and welcome everybody to our club leadership training session on international services. My name is Patricia Demek. I'm chair of this event and we are happy to be able to revert to a virtual meeting like this. So welcome. I'm happy to introduce Aldo Vilanovic, who's our International Services Director, and he'll introduce himself more fully at the beginning of the presentation. So we've got a couple of housekeeping suggestions for you this evening. First of all, if you have questions or comments, Aldo has asked that they wait until the end. So he'll go through his presentation, and during the presentation, you can click at the bottom in the chat box, put your questions and your suggestions or ideas in there, your comments, and we'll address them all at the end. We'll accumulate them and we'll address them at the end. Also at the end, you'll have an opportunity to put up your hand and we will acknowledge you and welcome you, and you can ask your question directly to Aldo. So use the chat box or raise your hand during the meeting or at the end. In the meantime, you will be muted. So please know that, and you can enjoy the presentation. Some people have asked how to not have all of the pictures on the right-hand side or wherever on your screen obscuring the presentation. So if you go to speaker view only, you can have only Aldo's face and the presentation. You don't have to see all of the pictures of people who are participating. If you've got any questions, you can just send me a message in the chat box if you're not getting through all right. And if you're calling in on the phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand. We'll record your comments. We'll gather everything at the end. So without anything further, I would like to introduce to you Aldo, who is going to give us a presentation on international services as it relates to us in District 7080. Aldo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Patricia. First of all, I guess I better repeat. My name is Aldo Vilanovic. I'm the chair of the International Service Committee and the director for international service at the district. I should also remind myself to thank the people that are behind the scene doing all the hard work, and that's Darren, Clarence, and Sandy. Thank you very much. I don't know what we'll do without the four of you. That you're doing so much to facilitate all these presentations. Doing a great job, and thank you. I also wish to thank our district governor, Leslie. She has provided a number of slides so that I can use this evening. I borrowed some of the slides that we're using in past years when we did the foundation qualification training. Some of you might remember. They were part then of a joint foundation and international training. Many of you may have seen this presentation already by our chair, Norm Binden, foundation chair, Norm Binden. But this all ties in together. Foundation and international we work well together. But tonight we're going to do we're going to see together, and I'm going to do the presentation pertaining to district grants, global grants, and also the Government of Canada grants. The way it pertains to what we do this year, but more so also how we'll be working next year and beyond. We may have some difficulties, but we'll overcome, I'm sure. I just saw a name appear on the screen. So I would like to welcome my friends that are visiting from afar. My friend Carol from BC, Elmo from Nova Scotia, and I see Bill from New York State. Welcome to our district 7080. It's nice that we're working together. Great to see you guys. I'd like to introduce the members that are International Service Committee in our district. I'm, of course, I'm the chair this year, finishing off this year. I've been the chair for the last 3 years. And I wish to thank Roger Mann from from Cambridge PH Club. He will be taking over the international service as a director, and also he'll be chairing the International Service Committee. So thank you, Roger, for stepping up and taking over the position of director. The members that have been on my committee, of course, Roger, Sue Ricketts, Bruce Friesen, Claire Conway, Wayne Wood, Adrian Beatler, and Ed Broders. I'd like to thank all of them for helping out. And I don't know what I would have done without my advisor, past District Governor Norm Binden, who's the foundation director. It's a big thank you to all of you, especially the last little while during the trying times. So we're gonna talk about the projects this year, how and where we find these projects. The question is always asked of me, well, how do I find a project? Well, these are some of the ways that we find a project. Usually they're brought to our attention from another club, where a Rotarian or Rotary Club is contacted by somebody that needs something done in their village, in their areas, mostly pertaining to education, to water resources, lack of water, and sanitation, education. Those are the primarily ones that I'm involved with, but there are numerous other requests that we get, of course. We also make connections and by attending international conventions or district conferences, and especially when we go to the House of Friendship, we have an opportunity to meet so many other Rotarians of like-minded interest, where we can develop a good friendship and perhaps go for a bit of a beverage and discuss needs and how we can help one another. By visiting project fairs abroad, I personally find that very worthwhile, and I'm always excited visiting a project fair. My areas of interest, of course, is Central America, but Africa, South America, Mexico, they have excellent project fairs, and you meet so many like-minded individuals from all interests, regardless of what your interest is in Rotary, you will find somebody that is like-minded, and what a wonderful way to not only learn about the projects and assist with the project, but also making great friendships. Traveling to other countries in need, and I can think of one right off the top of my head. You go to Dominican Republic, but don't just go to the Dominican Republic. Go off the beaten path, and also find where there's a Rotary Club, and go to a Rotary Club. Meet the Rotarians, and you'll quickly find that they have great needs, and they'll welcome you as a friend, and show you what their needs are. Out of the blue, there'll be a Rotary projects, I'm sure, and by just meeting Rotarians. And my first experience when I joined Rotary about some 15 years ago, I bumped into somebody that was wearing a Rotary hat at the airport in Toronto, and we've been friends ever since. He had the same interest as me. He was traveling, and we talked about Rotary projects for many times over since then. So just wear your Rotary hats, your Rotary pins, and you never know when you're going to bump into a Rotarian that has a similar interest as you, and that's how project starts. The International Service Committee. Well, how can we help you? Well, we definitely wish to connect you with the clubs in our district and beyond that are interested in doing a project. Clubs really can't do projects by themselves, not if you want to have a project of a substantial amount. You will need assistance from other clubs. So we can help you. We can make connections. Connect you with the subject matter experts. Well, this brings to mind just last week, Rotarian was putting forth a district grant project, and it was pertaining to drilling a well in Kenya. Drilling a well in Kenya. Well, drilling a well in Kenya is very easy to do, but drinking the water that comes out of the well in Kenya is not good. Therefore, you will need somebody that knows what to do with that water, how to make that water drinkable. And all of a sudden, this individual was enlightened, and I was made aware that he was interested, and also found out that there was another project close by that had a similar need, and it was done about 2 years prior. But the issue of bad drinking water was taken care of, and it's just a matter of connecting the Rotarians and connecting individuals that can solve a problem. We can help you with project planning and also preparation of the paperwork pertaining to the projects. And there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, especially if you're going for a global grant. Why waste a lot of time when we can streamline it and assist you with pitfalls that you might run into down the road. We can eliminate a lot of the problems and speed up the process for you. And improve your global grant applications. Sometimes just a matter of wording, how you word your application, as to whether it's going to speed up through the process, or whether they'll keep asking questions and perhaps not approve the project. The information pertaining to the Government of Canada grants, the Partnership for Community Development grants, they're quite simple, but sometimes it's just a matter of who qualifies, what qualifies, what country qualifies, and we can assist you with that. I know bill may not pertain to the upper New York State, but if you're doing partnerships with perhaps a 7090 partner, this may apply. I'll be talking a little bit more about the Government of Canada grants a little bit later on in a presentation. The requirements when doing the grants. When you have your grants, your signing officers, the signing officers must be in there and must have the foundation qualification training. That used to be done on a Saturday meeting in the past. Now it can all be done online, but at least one out of the three that are required need to have the foundation qualification training. And I know that a number have already qualified, but if you have not, you do it online. It'll take about anywhere between 2 and 4 hours, depending how quickly you can sail through it and how well versed you are with the information that you need to provide. You also need to have your club qualified. So you have to have club qualification, and you need to have a memorandum or understanding signed by the club. Of course, the club needs to be in good standing with the Rotary International dues and reports, and also if you're joining and cooperating with another organization, another NGO, you also need to have an MOU signed between Rotary and the other organization. Don't forget that if you are joining partnership with another NGO, it still needs to be Rotary that's in charge when it comes to global grants. This will be followed up in another frame or two. We'll explain that, but you can join efforts with another NGO, but Rotary needs to be in charge. As simple as that. So funding a project with grants and their various needs, whether it's for education, for health, for the well-being. There are so many different needs that you can take part with. Now, there are the three type of grants that we'll be talking about tonight. The district grants, of course, they're the shorter, quicker grants. They're less than the 35,000, and the good thing about it is that you can speed things up. You can get it done quickly. You don't need to have a host club overseas. You can take care of all that yourself, and it's administered by our district. And again, you can go on our district site and get all the information on that. The global grant, of course, has to be a minimum of 35,000. Just on Friday, we found out that that's going to be a bit of a difficult situation next year. We'll get into that a little bit later, but there are larger scale grants, minimum 35,000, and it has to align with one of the 6 areas of focus. And one of the first things you need to do pertaining to a global grant is to do the initial assessment. Is very good. And again, I referred to a previous slide where we can help you with the National Service Committee. We can help you with the what to look for in the initial assessment. They need to be measurable. You'll find that foundation and the examiners of your applications will be looking for a minimum of 3 years to follow up and measure the success of your the project that you've done. They are host community driven, and very, very important that you need to have all the participants in that community to have signed agreements, whether it's if you're working with the schools over there, the local school board, the mayor, the municipality where the school is located in, the community leaders in Central America, especially they have the Cocolas, they're the indigenous community associations. They need to sign in as well. So that's very important to have all that included in your grant applications. The actively involved Rotarians and community members and hands-on by the community members and the Rotarians always works best. The knowledge of the project and the skills of the people, whether they'll be in the Rotary Club or in the community, is very, very important. Are the teachers, are the parents that are involved, do they have specific skills and they have special interest in the project? And for a successful project and have great sustainability, and the skills of all involved is very important. Of course, these are the 6 areas of focus that we work by. Many of you will have varied interest. My particular interest is clean water, but definitely support all the rest. We have so much that we can offer. Now, we all know that the projects, we don't go out there and create projects. The projects are always initiated at the host club level in the district where we end up working. And maybe a little boy like that saying, "Boy, I wish I had good water that I could drink." And Mister, could you help us provide good water? And it comes to the attention of a Rotarian or Rotary Club, and that's how we do it. They in turn come on over to the international club and district, and I guess we're the ones with the money, and so that's how we end up doing it. The host club will supervise the project, will apply for the grant, will supervise and make sure that is sustainable for, like I said, usually a minimum of 3 years, but I'd like to see it longer than that. And so that's how we work on a project. Global grants can be used to fund humanitarian projects. Of course, vocational training, that's very important. We are doing a lot of that right now. And scholarships. Those are 3 strong areas that we we support. I'm going to do an example on the global grants. So how do we arrive at that 35,000 that we were saying before? Well, let's say 10 clubs get together, they each put in 1,050. I'll show you why the 50. The 50 is the 5% that goes to the Rotary Foundation to administer the project that it was initiated a few years ago to cover the cost of administration. So the minimum, the $500 comes off, and we have the $10,000 that comes from the clubs, from the 10 clubs. The district will match that, and that becomes 20,000. The Rotary Foundation matches 50% of the cash that comes from the clubs. So the cash is always from the clubs, and the Rotary Foundation will match 100% of the district designated funds. All that comes down to 35,000 US. But Houston, we have a little bit of a problem. As of Friday, we were notified that next year TRF will not match the 50% of club cash. They seem to be strapped for money, especially all the money that's been spent of late because of COVID. It appears the decision has been made that the 50% that they were matching the cash part and the club's money is not going to be there. Excuse me. So that formula there will need to be adjusted. Excuse me. So this is work in progress. I'm sure as Rotarians we'll find ways to get around that. But as it stands now, that now whether that's going to be reduced down to 30,000 or whether we'll have to come up, I suspect that we'll have to come up with more money from the club level to achieve the same 35,000 for the minimum 35,000 for the project. So the global grant projects need to be 100% administered by the host club, not by a cooperating organization or another NGO. They can be part of it, but still the administration is definitely by the host club. And grant funds are only paid to Rotary clubs. Now, like I said, we can work with the third party, but remember that both international club and host clubs work directly hand in hand. So it's Rotary to Rotary. Also, the Rotarians need to be active participants in the project. Now, requirements host and international clubs need to be qualified, need an annual qualification. When I said qualification, you need to have the foundation qualification training. At least one of the members need to be qualified. One of the 3 members in the club need to be in the that are signing officers or the signing Rotarians for the global grant project need to be qualified. So there need to be 3 people, both in international and the host club. Both need to have bank accounts for each project. A separate bank account you need to have on this end, the international end, and also the host club need to open a specific project account with a global grant number so that the money can transfer from foundation, from RI to the project, or from here to the project. Now remember, don't make it too complicated. Keep it simple. When you're designing or writing up the project, trying to stick to the basic requirements. Don't make it too complicated. The less complicated it is, the better it is. All the money is in US dollars. Don't have to remind you, Bill, but here in Canada, we got to remind our Rotarians that we need to convert the Canadian dollars to US dollars, and use not the exchange rate that you see at your local bank, but you need to use the exchange rate with Rotary. There's the website, but you can go to rotary.org and have that information. And when you correspond with our district, make sure that it goes to Norm Binden, at least for one more year, and specify which global grant number is, and request your district designated funds matching. Ensure all the emails that you send have the correct information, especially the global grant number. And it will certainly make things much easier for Norm and also the grants review committee. What does one of the first things they look for is that there is no conflict of interest. Individuals do not have direct responsibility for how funds are used. This is not to help out your friend who's another Rotarian, but you okay how the funds are used and spent. Can't be a member of the grants committee. I guess that counts me out. And you can't be an account signatory. If at all possible, I know in a lot of cases I get kickback on this. A lot of times you can't have competitive bids if you're in an isolated area, but if at all possible, have 2 or 3 competitive bids for every aspect of the project. And the most important part, before you even proceed with any of the paperwork, make sure that you do a need assessment. Make sure that you know what you're doing, what they're doing, and is it going to be sustainable? Is it feasible to do that project? Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of time and everybody's patience. Okay, mandatory for global grants. Again, I repeat, mandatory community assessments need to be uploaded to the application prior to submission. This must include signed agreements by all participants in the host area. Like I said, in most cases, you'll find that you'll need 3 or 4 different signed agreements, municipality, board of education, the groups that might be involved there, whether it will be the indigenous group or a village council. Have all those done way ahead of time, so you have it there ready to go when the paperwork starts rolling. The best thing to do that is to have meetings. Meetings by the host Rotary Club, and site meeting especially works very, very well, I find. There's your a sample of the community assessment paperwork. It's readily available on the Rotary site, and just go through it, make yourself familiar with what the requirements are. These steps may be time consuming, but like I said, very rewarding in the end. The global grant steps that you need to take. First, get your basic information and assessment. Have committee members. I usually find that you need to have 3 or 4 meetings on site with the various interest groups. Provide an overview of the project, specified and tied down to 1 or 2 areas of focus: education and health, education and when I say health, there will be the water and sanitation that's tied in with that. Measuring success. Absenteeism at school, that's a quick way to measure success, especially if you're doing a school project. If your absenteeism drops down drastically, that means you're successful and you're keeping the girls in school for a longer period of time, beyond when they're 12 years old and they start having their menstrual cycle. Well, if you keep them in school past age 12, and they're still in school until they're 14, 15 years old, that's a tremendous success. Those are the things that you're measuring. The location of where the project is. Specify exactly what it covers, where it is, who the participants are, municipality, local communities, school boards, Rotarians, if the Rotarians have specific training, whether they're perhaps maybe an educator or a doctor, specify that. Specify where the funding comes from. Is it all from Rotary, or are you having assistance from other NGOs or somebody with deep pockets that are helping out with a specific area? Sustainability. Again, how much involvement is it going to be from the community and the parents, the teachers? That's all going to, in the end, it's going to result in great sustainability. Then you forward, all that is forwarded and it's reviewed, it's locked in, and it's authorized, and away you go. And if you follow all those steps, as tedious as they may be at times, like I said, but in the end, you're going to be happy and it's going to be very rewarding. The Government of Canada partnership and the funding that we have, as many of you know, we were given $6 million Canadian for a 5-year term, which was to expire at the end of 2020. But now it's been pushed back to March 31st, 21. But I'm told by Foundation Chair Norm that it's quite certain that before the end of the year, all the money will be spoken for at the end of this year. So being March 31st, 2021 doesn't mean much, because all the money looks like all the money is going to be spoken for and spent before the end of the end of this year. Hopefully, we will be receiving an extension or more money starting in 2021. But the way it stands right now, especially with all the money that's being thrown at COVID, who knows? We don't know where we stand with the government, and so for now, we're only talking this Rotary year, and perhaps the early part of the next Rotary year, the first few global grants that will be dealing with in the 2021 Rotary year. All this is being administered by the Rotary Foundation, Rotary Foundation Canada, Rotary Foundation. Now, don't forget that the Rotary Foundation operates in US dollars, so don't take that as 6 million US is 6 million Canadians, roughly 5 million US. So if we're quite familiar with the 3-to-1 match, if we that we have been going and doing for the last number of years, where we have Rotary Foundation matching district and 1-to-1 and club 50 cents on a dollar, and that was a 3.5-to-1 match, as I showed the slide that I showed earlier. With the Government of Canada funding, we can bump it up to 6.5-to-1. However, this is going to change if it goes the way we have it right now. We're only going to be 5-to-1 because of the lack of Rotary Foundation funding the club cash, the club money. So it's going to be 5-to-1 as opposed to 6.5-to-1. There will be some adjustment in the mindset, and we'll need to come up with more money on the club level in order to achieve the same dollar value projects. So let's do a quick example on the Government Canada partnership. So if 5 clubs invest 10,000 each, there's your 10,000 US. The district matches it becomes 20,000. The Government of Canada will match dollar for dollar to 20,000, so it becomes a 40,000. The World Fund will match 50 cents on a dollar on the 30,000. Not because they only match 50 cents on the cash money for the clubs. The World Fund will match district fund by fully, which is 10,000. So there's your 65,000. So it's 6.5-to-1 of the club money, minus the 5%. So it's actually 64.5. But like I said, that may be changed. Well, it will be changed come July 1st if we don't get the 50 cents on a dollar match from Rotary Foundation. Of course, the government will match 5 out of the 6 area of focus. Does not match the piece that aspect that's covered by other funding that the government supports. All projects must consider gender equality, environmental sustainability, and good governance. Countries of focus. The government of Canada provides a list of the countries that they will support. India comes to mind. It does not work over there because the Indian government does not allow outside participation by the government of Canada for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into that. The eligibility restrictions, no scholarships, construction of activities of any kind. You can't buy vehicles, and no projects in India. So that you'll see on the Government of Canada site. That will be all explained there. Always provide all the information, communication with Rotary Foundation. Provide all the information what global grant you're taking part in, and bit of an explanation what the project is, the country that you work in, and the club that you belong to. In conclusion, remember, Rotarians, this is not our money. We are entrusted the money only to provide good stewardship. We need to be good steward of the money that's being raised. And please ensure that all projects are well researched and sustainable. I hope you have learned a little bit what we do and how to do international projects this evening. And I thank you for your listening, your patience. And if I confuse you in any way, feel free to ask questions, and we'll try to answer all your questions. Patricia, you may have some sitting in.
Thank you, Aldo. Thank you for a great presentation. I've got a couple of questions for you, but first of all, before anybody starts to leave, I just want to thank you for your knowledge and your wisdom with regard to international service. It's really great, and I can speak from experience, having done a number of international service projects, and we really appreciate your guidance. So I have a couple of questions. The first question is from Pierre, who belongs to Kitchener Grand River Club, and here's his message. Our club is planning to start a medical fund to help citizens of Rancheria, Nicaragua, who require medical aid but have no means to pay for it. We plan to have a local committee submit candidates to a Rotary committee to decide who will receive funding. Does anyone have experience with a similar arrangement? Over to you, Aldo.
I believe something very similar to this is a project initiated by Bruce Friesen and Oakville Trafalgar, assisting with the medical facility in Chicamula, Guatemala, which is on the border of Honduras. There is a clinic over there, and also as part of the university extension program where they train doctors in a remote area, but they have no facility. They're strictly book learners, and they're working. They want to work with the doctors, with the university, and by providing medical facility, medical equipment, and medical know-how. Perhaps that's a good hookup to both in our district, and that's an that's an area where maybe the two clubs can work together to compare notes and assist one another. Have I answered the question, or is there a further?
Okay, I think that's good, Aldo. Does this information, I have another question. Does this information apply to passport clubs? For example, can a passport club do international projects and receive global grants, or is there a limitation on that?
No, my understanding that I have of the passport club, that it needs to work with the Rotary Club in order to get the to apply for the global grant to work with another Rotary Club. So you have your host Rotary Club and your international Rotary Club, but the passport club could work with the perhaps the sponsoring Rotary Club or a nearby Rotary Club.
But not a passport club.
I don't. The last I've heard, that is not workable.
Okay.
Norm Binden, Foundation Director, might shed a better light on that. If they could contact Norm Binden.
Okay. We'll see if Norm pops up with a comment, because he's online right now. Another question from Dave, who belongs to my club, our club, Aldo, you and I, at Burlington Lakeshore. Does the restriction on construction apply to renovations and upgrading facilities?
I worked around it before. It all depends if it's complete new construction, may not apply. If there's renovation, upgrades of the classrooms, is that what you're referring to? That's workable part of education. If you need to upgrade the classroom and make it safe and so on, I don't see a problem.
I realize that's very specific. And in my experience in northern Mexico, we've done renovation and refurbishment type projects, yeah, without a problem. Neither have we had grants there though, so.
Yeah.
Let me see, I'm just scrolling through the questions here about passport clubs, and Rajbir Roger Mann says, great presentation, Aldo. With your experience and knowledge, you will be a challenging act to follow. And I would like to repeat that message, because Aldo's gonna switch roles on July 1st, and he's been a great influence in international service. So thank you. I don't see any further questions coming up here. Lots of comments about great work and great presentation. And thank you so much, Aldo, for doing this presentation tonight. We all had to switch gears with COVID-19, and we really appreciate every presenter in switching gears and making these presentations. Just a note that this is being recorded. So if you go back to the District 7080 website, go to committees and training, and you'll find the recording of this presentation. And hopefully, Aldo, you're going to provide your contact information so people can ask questions ongoing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Thank you, Aldo, especially for your knowledge and your wisdom on international service. Thank you.
Hi, Al.